Let's talk about one of the most deceptive sources of excessive saturated fat in the American diet, the breakfast sandwich. On the surface, it seems reasonable. Eggs, some protein, bread, how bad could it be? But when you actually break down the numbers, these sandwiches are cardiovascular disasters disguised as convenient breakfast options. Let me walk you through a typical fast food breakfast sandwich. You start with one egg, which contains 1.6 grams of saturated fat. Perfectly fine. But then you add a sausage patty, which contributes 5 to 8 grams of saturated fat depending on the size. Now add a slice of cheese, another 5 to 6 grams. The bread is often a buttered biscuit, adding 2 to 3 more grams. And they're usually cooking that egg in butter too, adding another 2 to 3 grams. When you add this up, you're looking at 16 to 20 grams of saturated fat in a single sandwich. Remember, the recommendation for an entire day on a 2,000-calorie diet is to stay under 20 grams of saturated fat total. This one sandwich is consuming your entire daily limit at breakfast. You haven't had lunch or dinner yet, and you've already maxed out. If you eat anything else containing saturated fat for the rest of the day, and you almost certainly will, you're exceeding the guidelines that help protect against cardiovascular disease. Let's look at a specific example: McDonald's Sausage McMuffin with egg. This single sandwich delivers essentially 100% of your daily saturated fat limit. It's not a terrible meal in terms of calories or protein, but the saturated fat content makes it a poor choice for anyone concerned about heart health. And here's the problem: people eat these regularly because they're convenient, affordable, and marketed as a normal breakfast option. The issue is normalization. When breakfast sandwiches are available on every corner, when they're cheap and fast, when advertising presents them as a reasonable way to start your day, people consume them frequently without understanding the cardiovascular implications. One breakfast sandwich occasionally isn't going to cause heart disease. But when this becomes your go-to breakfast 2 or 3 times per week, or even more often, you're consistently exceeding saturated fat limits. Now, I want to offer solutions because simply telling you what not to eat isn't helpful. You can absolutely make breakfast sandwiches that deliver satisfaction without the saturated fat bomb. Start with a whole grain English muffin. Use one whole egg, poached or cooked in a non-stick pan with cooking spray. Instead of sausage, use sliced turkey breast or Canadian bacon, which is much lower in saturated fat than regular bacon or sausage. Skip the cheese, or use just a thin slice of a flavorful cheese where a little goes a long way. Add tomato slices, spinach, and avocado for creaminess without saturated fat. Use mustard or hot sauce instead of mayonnaise. This reimagined sandwich might have 4 to 6 grams of saturated fat instead of 16 to 20. You're getting protein, whole grains, vegetables, and satisfaction, but you're staying well within heart-healthy limits. You can eat this kind of breakfast regularly without cardiovascular concerns. The comparison charts when you look at popular breakfast sandwiches are shocking. Burger King's croissantwich with sausage and cheese has 19 grams of saturated fat. Dunkin' sandwiches range from 8 to 16 grams depending on which one you choose. Even seemingly healthier options can be deceptive. An egg white grill from Chick-fil-A looks like a healthy choice, and it is better, but it still has 3 grams of saturated fat, primarily from the processed cheese. The takeaway here is awareness. If you're going to eat breakfast sandwiches, know what you're consuming and make it an occasional choice rather than a daily habit.